You've tuned into The Mountain Gardener with your host, Ken Lain. Gardening, it can be challenging, but with these simple insider tips, you'll reap huge rewards. Now, let's tune into today's Mountain Gardener with Ken and Lisa. And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lain, here every week, talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. We are in the thick of it. Things are growing really fast right now. My tomatoes have doubled, maybe tripled in size. I had to cage it. In fact, I think I'm going to stake them this weekend before they get so full. I can't even get a stake in between the cage kind of stuff. They're going to be big boys. So tomatoes, they come in two types of tomatoes: determinate and indeterminate. So indeterminate are the really big ones. They're indeterminate how big they're going to get. They're going to get as big as you and I. They get, and you need a cage and a system to really hold it together. In fact, not even just a round cage. I mean, they make square ones, more sturdy, bigger, fuller. I didn't have that years ago when I started my tomatoes. So I still have my round, kind of not good enough cage. So I put a big old stake in the middle of it. I just tie it on as it gets into the season. It works. Eventually I own one of the largest garden centers in the state. I can afford, I should just invest in a better cage. Oh my gosh. But it's that frugal farmer in me. I just can't, not right now. So anyway, I'm preparing. They're growing fast. I don't have fruit forming yet. They're starting to show some flowers. So, but in a month, I'll start to see fruits on them. So this is when they're growing really well. You want to take advantage of now. Push them, fertilize them like crazy, juice them, get them growing. I'm hitting mine with Flower Power. It's a water-soluble food once a week. Now that's twice as often as I recommend, but the growing season you can take advantage of it right now. As soon as we start to reach in the 90s, plants start to shut down. They kind of grow in the morning and then they kind of go, oh, it's kind of hot. I think I'll just wait here till it cools off. And then it cools off. They start to grow a little bit at the end of the day. And then it gets so cold at night, or we get a monsoon rain where it gets chilly and then they shut down again. So this is kind of a sweet spot right now. Now through, I don't know, middle of June or so, the next 3 to 4 weeks, this is the golden time for gardens, flowers, vegetables, herbs. Really juice them, get them growing. Because when June hits through until the monsoons hit, so middle of June to the middle of July, somewhere in there, the rains start to come. They stop growing. They just sit there and they look at you. They might set some fruits, but they're not growing as fast. It's because of temperature. It's because of nighttime and the heat during the day and nighttime temperatures. You're just in the perfect spot. My Calibrachoa or Million Bells petunias and my petunias and my pansies and my geraniums. The flowers are doing the same thing. They're growing like crazy. It's beautiful. And I'm hitting them a little more often right now because you can kind of coax them into blooming more, growing faster. And that flower power, I just got my couple of water cans. I just kind of go out there in the morning. I go, I'm going to make you happy. I'm going to insist that you grow. And I'm pushing them. I mean, I've got a radio show, podcast, garden columns. I'm the spokesperson for gardening in this part of the Southwest. I have to get behind the microphone and tell you how, I just picked my first tomato and it was so good. It just melted in my mouth. My first cucumber. I've got my bouquet of iris, which I do, in the house. They're just so stunning and striking. I need to brag about it just a few days before you do. So it's like there's some bragging rights with gardeners. We like to compare and share our successes. And so I start with a little bit larger plant, whether it's a flower or vegetable, and I really fertilize them well right now. So they are at full happiness and wanting to grow. And so I'm seeing it right now. I am really seeing them go, and you can do the same thing. Right now, you're starting to see the summer blooming things starting to wake up. So we've had calls for the last 2 weeks going, oh no, I think my grapes are dead. Oh, I think my desert willow died. Oh, my chase tree, my smoke bush, you can go right down the line. These are folks that they do not like spring. They have no interest in spring. They're going to wait till when it's cold out. If there's even a risk that it might be frosty, they're going to stay there asleep until it's warm enough. And it's kind of soil warmth related. So finally, the crepe myrtles have leafed out and they're starting to bud. Finally, the Rose of Sharon's or all of the hibiscus families are starting to leaf out. Finally, the smoke bush are starting to really push on that nice, rich, thick foliage, a light dusting of flowers to them. All those hardy, drought-resistant, heat-loving plants, they like summer. So they're famous summer through fall. This is when your lilacs are pretty well done at this point. There might be a few flowers left. Yeah, that's fine. But their big show, they're done. They'll just be big green blobs from this point forward, unless you've got a repeat blooming variety. The roses are looking tremendous right now. This is a good time for them. Your summer plants are waiting for it to get hot. They're looking forward to 90-degree weather. They want that. And when they do, they just take off and ignite with new flowers. This is a good time to be putting your summer blooming types of plants in the ground. So that would be the most famous of all of them in the country, Crepe Myrtle. Crepe Myrtle is this rich foliage with these almost fluorescent. Even the white flowers are fluorescent. There's a new Black Diamond series of crepe myrtles we got, and the foliage is black or very dark, rich crimson. And so if you take any flower against that rich, deep foliage, it is magical. I mean, it's like, whoa, where did that plant come from? Mars? What is that? Where did you get that from? How did you grow that? It just creates conversations that those dark foliages. There's a Black Diamond foliage. There's several series at the garden center right now where you got this really, even without flowers, you're going, wow, that's a pretty plant. And then it blooms. The most traditional crepe myrtles, they're going to be your green, just green foliage. That's the typical southern Texas, all that whole area, where it's hot. They're just green and a pretty flower. That's good. There's still fluorescent foliage, but boy, take a look. If nothing else, you would just want a day trip for entertainment. Look at the black foliaged crepe myrtles. They're cool. I mean, really neat. They're also starting to dwarf them. So a lot of your tree crepe myrtles, who needs I don't want a tree against my fence line. I've got trees. I want shade trees. I want something bigger than a crepe myrtle. I want something to soften up a shrub. Gets about head high, chest high to hip, head high. That softens up my fence line. And I don't want it to go into tree form. I want it to stay in a shrub form. There's a whole series of crepe myrtles that we've dwarfed. They don't get to that 10, 12, 15 foot height. They just get chest high. Much easier to maintain. They need no maintaining. They don't need pruning or anything. They just do their own thing every summer through fall. The same thing with a lot of the hibiscus are in. So the hibiscus, I should break that a little bit. So Rose of Sharon is our most famous hibiscus. So it's a shrub, a tall shrub, probably head high to even it's up to 12, maybe 10. If they're really old, 12 feet tall, big bush with hundreds, literally hundreds of hibiscus, smaller hibiscus flowers. They come in a lot of colors, blues, whites, pinks, a lot of colors. There's the tropical hibiscus. This is like Florida, Phoenix, Southern California. They're the ones with the flowers that are as big as your hand. They're bright colors. Those also grow here, but typically we'll treat them like citrus or some of the others. We'll grow them in a container, have them out there on the patio or the deck and then we'll bring them indoors. They're tropical. That is, they don't like to be below 50 degrees. You got to protect them, but there is nothing like a tropical hibiscus. They're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But if there's an easy way to transition them indoors and just enjoy them. So there's perennial varieties. They'll winter over for us. And then there's also tropical varieties where you need to protect them or bring them indoors for the winter. And you'll find both of them at garden centers right now. So just know where to ask if you need help figuring out which one is which.
There's nothing like tomatoes picked fresh from your garden.
Water's Mountain Tomato Collection are varieties proven to produce and thrive. Heirlooms, beefsteaks, cherries, naturally grown for local success.
Completely organic, never genetically altered, and utterly delicious. They're ready for your garden now.
You can grow your own this spring, and we can help. Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Shop Waters in-store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
For a more fruitful garden, increase success in the landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Mountain Gardener podcast. Subscribe through your favorite podcast streamer or visit watersgardencenter.com. Better yet, visit me directly right here at Waters Garden Center. Thanks for tuning in.